Hi, welcome to part 4 on this 3-part series on the Compaq Portable III. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look, finally, at the keyboard and giving it a good refurbish. Let's dive in. Okay, so we're finally at the keyboard, and as you can see, it is in pretty dire need of some cleaning up. It's got a lot of scunge on all the keys and all the areas. It's pretty nasty, but now that I've got the Compaq working and I've been able to use it, it does actually work pretty well, I must say, considering the age. But yeah, now let's take a look. So you can clearly see the cable is the biggest problem that we've got here. It was once coiled and it was this nice kind of grey-brown plastic, but it's pretty well known on the Compaq Portable 3, 4 and 3/8 series that this cable just disintegrates at this point in time. And there's literally no examples left with the cable pretty much intact and not dying. It's not a factor of storage, it's not a factor of anything, it's just that plastic has degraded over that amount of time, and this is kind of what you end up with. But as we can see here, there is a standard AT keyboard connector. We do have 4 wires, 2, 3, 4, and I don't think that's a ground or anything. I'm pretty sure that's just for strength inside the cable, and it was at one point coiled. So that coil sat together in that little lip in front of the screen and hid the cable away, and then when you wanted to use the keyboard you could pull the cable out and that coiled cable would give you a little bit of slack. But yeah, so what I kind of want to do first of all, let's have a look at the back actually. So I'm also missing the feet, which kind of sucks, but I have been able to find a 3D model on printables, which I should be able to throw in my resin printer. I might use some tough resin or something like that and get a pretty good, get some nice replacements in there. We've got also this really nice label asset tag from the original owners that I want to maintain, and I also kind of want to maintain this Lotus 123 little help sheet. I haven't dared start pulling that up. It's already starting to pull up from that corner though, but yeah, we'll see if we can retain that as well. But otherwise, I haven't pulled this apart. I haven't seen what the insides look like. So let's dive straight into that, I think. Okay, so I've got this is the key puller that came with my Keychron keyboard. And it, well, believe it or not, it works for all other keyboards. So let's use it on this one. Now, I don't want to just pull off all the keys right now, but I have done some internet research, which is rare for me, and I've found, and you can also kind of see, that there's keys under here. I don't know if that'll come through really well, but right there is a screw, and then there's like one under the control key there. You can kind of see it poking through. There's a handful of different screws kind of around the keyboard that hold it together. So what I want to do is just try to get just the keys that I need to take off in order to get those screws out, and then hopefully later on we can just try to keep it as together as possible before pulling it straight down. And already, oh, that key looks nasty. Yikes. Okay, so let's have a look. Where else do we see one? There's one down here. Now, the other thing that I know is that there is a screw under here. So what I will do is get a very thin blade and my hot air. This is set to 100 degrees. I'm going to use something a little less pointed. My digger thingy. You can see it's loose there now. I should be able to get underneath that pretty easily. Maybe not. There we go. And it's just loosened the glue, so it's still tacky. And then that potentially last screw out. Put our Compaq logo aside and see what we've got. So let's try and separate the case parts. Let's use a little spudging action here. There we go. All right, now these screws will fall that way. So what I want to do is actually flip it over and lift the back side, or the front side, I guess, up to reveal the insides. So there's the bottom, the back, I guess. I don't know, that side. It's pretty clean, actually. It's got the locking mechanism for the front of the screen, so that protrudes out a little hole in the side here, and that's what actually locks them into the screen to hold it up. Kind of cool. All right, let's put that off to the side and take a look. Now, the first thing that I'm seeing is that this is not, as I mentioned in the very first video, a Keytronics keyboard. This is made by Advanced Input Devices. And if we lift this board up, we can see that, as I said, it is not foil and foam. I guess I was wrong. Huh. Yeah, this is a standard tack switch. Not tack switch, a membrane keyboard. Huh. Carbon contacts contact the little traces on the bottom there and bridge the contact between the two sets of tines or whatever they're called, and that's what triggers the key press. That's interesting. All my research told me that this was going to be foam and foil, so I'm going to need to change my tactics on how I repair this, but this makes it a crap ton easier. Maybe I got confused, because I know for sure that the original Compaq Portable and the Compaq Portable II have the foam and foil, so I guess I was mistaken in my research. So there you go. Okay, well, I'll probably add a little note to the description in that video, because that was wrong. Anyway, let's take a look. So you can see there, that is the plastic, or the casing of the keyboard cable, and that's what I mean. It just completely disintegrates as soon as you touch it, but that is the original color, and yeah, look at that. It's so hard and brittle, and it just disintegrates in my fingers. So that's not good, and it looks like it is indeed. We've got 4 wires, and yeah, okay, so that metal wire going through is indeed going to a ground. Is that actually a ground though? Or is that just final, kind of like shielding? Doesn't look like that actually goes to anything. It looks like it's just an external, like that. This 5th pin here just goes to this outer band, but I can't see anywhere where that outer band is actually connected to the rest of the board. Let's just do a quick check with the meter. Let's throw it in beeper mode. So let's check ground plane right there. Yeah, so it is not grounded. We should check also, let's see if we have power. Assuming that red wire was the battery or the voltage input. And then this one would be ground. No. What is ground then? Green is ground. Okay. So 3 is 5 volts. And then the 4, which is green, is ground, and the wire there is nothing. It just goes to this outer band, but doesn't go anywhere from there. Okay, and if we test that, I'm assuming it'll go to the shield here, so let's wire that up like that, and yeah, so it's just a shield. Interesting, okay. Well, that kind of works in our favor. It means we can get away with using a 4-core wire to replace this, rather than needing the full 5 cores, but it does mean also that we're not using the full 5 pins on the AT keyboard connector, so okay. Well, let's start. First and foremost, I want to get rid of this cable because it's disgusting. So I'm just going to clip these leads for now. Let's just clip them right there. Okay, and then let's clip these cable ties. Loosen that up, and we'll click off this little bunch of wire. That should release our cable. And there's the old and busted one. So I'm gonna probably need to do some research to see, or do some testing at least, to see exactly which of these pins wind up to where, but that's why I kind of left the wires as was. And then I can strip these back, test between here and there, and then replicate this cable exactly as is, because I don't believe this follows the standard AT pinout, I suppose. I think Compaq did their own thing. Alright, let's put that off to the side. And let's check this guy out. So this is the membrane for that keyboard. Yeah, it's a little bit dirty, so I'll probably want to clean this. What I'll likely do, oh yeah, look at that, there you go, you've got your advanced input devices. And just a crap ton of keys. And their associated bits. So that's one of the keys that I took out, and you can see, that's kind of cool, it's the mechanism. So the key would sit in that. It's got like a little notch, and then that pushes down on the rubber membrane, which then makes the contact with the carbon contact on the back, and that presses down on the board. So yeah, that's not too bad. It's much better than, like I said, the foam and foil that I was expecting to see here. But okay. Well, I think now that I have kind of a plan, so we can start with the full disassembly, which means I'm going to take a photo of this as is, because I can see there's one hole there. I'm not sure, that's underneath a key. I think that's under a shift key there. So I need to make sure that I get kind of like these red ones in the right holes. And yeah, just try to keep track of where all these keys go, so that I can put it back together, and then I will flip it over, take it out, and then store everything, and we'll get down to the nitty-gritty of the cleaning and everything. Disgusting. Okay, and there's all of our little under keyboard thingies. And there's the grimy ass keyboard. So, let's take care of these first. Okay, so I've got all the keys in a jug. I think this is the jug that came with my stick blender. I don't know, just anything that'll fit will do. Now, what I'm going to do is a method that I have not tried myself, but I've seen mechanical keyboard aficionados recommending constantly online, which is denture cleaning tablets. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill this with water, and then I'm going to drop in probably 2 or 3 of these. It says deep cleans dentures within 3 minutes. I don't know, we'll leave it in there for a 5 maybe, see what happens. And then I'll give them a good rinse and a dry, and we'll see how we go. So these keys turned out so damn good. I didn't honestly expect the denture cleaner to do that much. I guess it does work on teeth, so yeah. But like, let's see if I can find the F1 key here. There it is, and it is just spotless. So good. Okay, so top of the keyboard time. Now, I obviously want to give this a really good clean, and I would do that in my laundry sink. Give it just a complete wash over, but the 1, 2, 3 label up here it feels like paper. So what I think I will do for now is probably do the same with the heat gun, but at a lower temperature. So let's drop it as low as it'll go. And we'll see if we can kind of warm that glue up and peel it off very gently. Okay, and there's thing, yeah, the glue started peeling off just in the middle there, but looks like we got it off without injury. Cool, so still a little bit of sticky residue on the case here, but I can get that off after, and then we'll just have to figure out how we're going to reattach it. If we want to reattach it. Neat. Alright, now let's get this, and this, and the bottom case here, over for a bath. Now these ones are pretty well on there. I'm not going to worry about those. They'll just get washed, scrubbed with the wash. It should stay on there, no problem. Cool. So when I come back, this will be clean. Okay, while Laundry Nick is over there cleaning the keyboard parts, going to want to replicate or replace, rebuild, I guess, this cable. Now, if I stretch it out and try to get the cable as taut as I can make it, and then probably estimate that. Oh, there we go. I would estimate that to be about, let's say 1.8 meters or so. So you can kind of figure out exactly what that length is from there. And what we're looking for is cable. If we get our calipers here, let's get those zeroed out. And thankfully we've still got this inner part that's mostly, I don't want to touch it because it does feel very stiff and brittle. But if we measure that, we're looking at about 4.8, 4.79, yeah, 4.8 mil cable diameter. And what we're also looking at is a 5-pin DIN. So that's the AT style 5-pin DIN connector. So what am I going to do about this? We're looking for 4 cores, about 2 meters, 5-pin DIN, about 4.8 millimeters in diameter. So what I found at the local electronics store, JCar Electronics, is this. It is WB1591 4-core alarm stranded cable. Now it is white, so it's not exactly going to match the old cable, but it is 4 cores, and it is approximately the same diameter. So we're looking at about 4.3. So it's about 0.5 mil narrower than this cable. But studio you may have noticed, it is straight and is coming on a big roll. So we're going to have to coil this. So this is kind of where I start a little tutorial on how to coil. Now I obviously didn't make this up. I followed many guides that I found online. A lot of the mechanical keyboard people do this for their USB cables and such like that. But yeah, so I've already experimented a couple of times with some different cable as well. And I think I've got the pattern down now. So I'm going to go through the process of how I make these cables. So first of all, I used an online calculator. Now, I'll put up the link on the website and show you the little calculations here. But basically you punch in the dimension of the cable and then the dimension of the rod that you want to wrap this around. So I should probably explain further actually. What you'll do is you'll get a length of rod, I'll just use this as a stand-in for now, and put the cable on that and wrap it around, a lot tighter than that obviously. And then that rod actually defines the coil. So based on the diameter of the cable, the diameter of the rod that you're wrapping this around, the length of the looped section of the cable that you want, it can actually tell you exactly how much cable that you need, because obviously when you're going around and around, this is going to be a lot more. You know, this cable on the Compaq was about this big, but you know, I stretched it out and it was 1.8 meters long. So yeah, so thankfully the other Compaq that I have, my tester one, while the cable is flaking and it is apart, it's still relatively together, and I was able to measure the length of the coiled section at 25 centimeters. So we're looking at 4.3 millimeters diameter, and I am going to be using a length of this dowel that I got at the local Bunnings hardware store, and this is 8 millimeter. Oh, there we go. 8 millimeter wooden dowel. So what I've done, and you can see I've already used this one, or maybe you can see, but you can see I've already coiled some coils on this one, but this is a length of dowel that I can use, and I have marked 2 spots on it. And these are the 25 centimeters for the length of cable that I will need for the keyboard. So what I'm going to do now, when this cable goes in to the Compaq, there's obviously this length on the inside of the case, so I'm going to need at least that, and then there's probably about the same that goes on the other side at this point. So you can see from the end of the coil there to the end of the cable here, there's another little length there. So I'm going to add a lot extra, so it's like out to about there maybe. And then what you do is you get to the coil here at your mark, and you need to tape this down, and so it's really, really secure on the cable. So I'm going to use some Kapton tape because I've got it handy, and it is heat resistant because heat will become a factor shortly. So this is kind of where having an extra set of hands would help, but flying solo today, so let's try. So what I'm going to do is just run that on there, but nice and tight. Okay. Just do a couple of goes around, and that will do. Now, then what you do is you start coiling. So you bend that cable around and start the coil like so. And what that does is that is the start of the coil. And then all you do is I just sit here, turn the shaft, and keep very good tension on this end of the wire of the cable, so that it wraps around and around and around, and you start this very nice tight coil. And keep going all the way to the other end. So let's do that really quickly in fast mode. Okay, so we're at our mark. Now what I'm going to need to do, and this is the tricky part, is tape this end down. So let's get our tape, there. Keep that tight. And let's come around. Oh, this is where another set of hands would be super useful. There we go. Okay, so there we have our coil. Now, obviously, as soon as you take this off the cable, it's under a lot of tension right now, and as soon as you remove these bits of tape, this is just going to spring out and go straight again. So what we need to do is get the other end cut. So I'm just going to leave a very long length here, so I have some excess to work with. And then we need to heat this. So now I'm going to do this the way that I've found best. You can use a hairdryer, you can use the heat gun, so I can use my thingamajigger here. I've found that the heat sources, like a hairdryer and heat gun, are good, but they don't provide really accurate and even heat. You find heat spots, you have to go back over, and you have to heat very evenly the whole length so that it retains the same amount of, well, I guess heat memory throughout the entire cable. So the way that I've found best is using a kind of like an electric frying pan with a pool of water in it, and then keeping this water running, keeping the water at a running boil. So it holds the water at about 100 degrees Celsius, which is just enough to warm all of this cable, and it heats it beautifully and evenly. And once it cools, so you leave that in there for about 10 minutes and let it cool down at room temperature. Once it cools, it holds the shape. So let's go and do that. Okay, it's Editor Nick here. Now this clip didn't turn out quite how I wanted it to. It turns out one-handed camera recording over a pot of boiling water while you're trying not to burn yourself and lowering a rod of cable down is not that easy. Anyway, what I've got here is the coil of cable. I've also put a couple of pegs so that I can basically hold the cable upright so that it doesn't, sink, because I don't want to get water in the ends of the wire. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically just trying to put it down and, gently. So, and I've dropped it, of course. So here we go. Put it back up and resting that cable end. I'm really sorry about this. It's all steamed up. This is a better view. Resting the end of the cable inside the end of that peg so that it actually holds it just above the bottom of the water. So it's actually not sitting on the bottom, but just floating above and sitting in that water. And that water obviously is boiling, even though the horrible heat pattern in this cheap old electric frying pan doesn't look that great. But I leave this in here for about 10 minutes. Okay, so while Kitchen Nick over there is boiling his cables, we can take a look at the wiring for what I'm going to need to do to replace this. Now, obviously, this is using an ATXT style 5-DIN connector, and I have procured some replacement. And that is the correct pin configuration. So this is a 5-pin 180 degree, because it goes 180 degrees around. There's other variants of 5 pins in 270s and stuff like that, but yeah. So we noted beforehand that the green was ground and red was 5 volts. So I've split those off. I've stripped all the wires, insulation, as you can see, and I have multimeter in continuity test mode. So what we can do is check if we put that on our ground lead there. So that's the green wire that I'm testing. And now on the other side, so the XT connector, if we look at it that way, because that's the way that you plug it into the computer, so if the computer's facing this way, so what we need to do is actually reverse the pin out for the female side to get the male side. So on the female side, it's I think it's 5, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the 180 degree. So in this case, if we reverse that, this would be pin 1. Then we've got 2 the top here, then 3, then 4 and 5 in that order. So we need to look for pin 4 in the XT style keyboard, which in the female side, so it would be, so if the female side is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4 should be up here, and we can confirm that's where our ground is. Let's try it with the positive, which is in pin 5, so that was again 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's the opposite one, pin 5, yes, so there's our pin 5 volts. Now we need to figure out which ones these are, because the white and the black I have absolutely no idea. So let's take a look. White will be obviously not on pins 4 or 5, so let's have a look at 1. Ah, there we go. So it's on pin 1, which means white is the clock. Okay, and then that leaves black, which should just be data on pin 2, because I don't think this will be using the reset line. And we, yes, have indeed data on the reset line. So from that, we can make up a little kind of like a pinout table for the new connector. And then what we'll do is when we've got the cable all done and dusted, coiled and nice, we can attach this in the same manner using that pinout adjustment, that pinout table that we've got. From there, the other side, obviously, we can go into here. So that will be our ground. We've got our 5 volts. We'll have clock on the white lead and data on the black. All right, I think the timer's up, and I'll go get your Nick to take that cable out of the bath and see how it ended up. All right, the cable is out of the bath and nice and cooled. Still a little bit wet around the cables, about the ends, but that's my fault for using a wooden dowel. Anyway, let's see what we get. So first of all, let's peel some of this tape off. It's gotten wet and loosened. But we can see that it holds its shape, so it doesn't just immediately spring back like it was before. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very loosely just twist this off the rod a bit, just to break that connection. There we go, all the way back. And then we can peel this one off. That one actually has held really tightly, so I'll grab my knife and just gently cut the cable away. Alright, and then that side is also off, nice and loose. And we should be able to, if we can get this off. Finally, okay. Now, there is our coil. So now you can see it's kind of it's a bit loose. It doesn't spring as nice, like it doesn't have that snapback that you kind of look for. And the reason that is pretty straightforward. It's because what you need to do now, the final step of the puzzle, is invert this coil. So this is coiling around this way, and what we want to do is just start twisting the end and the whole way through until we get that coiled the other way. So I just do opposite twists with my hand like that. So the left hand goes that way while the right hand goes that way, and that inverts the coil one loop at a time. It's a bit unwieldy with this long ass end. I probably should have done it on the shorter end, but I've already started, so let's finish. Okay, now the last step, clean my desk up here a bit, is just to kind of massage this cable. Just give it some good twists, tighten it back up. And you'll see that it will start forming that really nice snap. right diameter. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. And now it's got that really good snapback that we're looking for. And yeah, you can just kind of keep massaging that until it gets to about the right feel, which is what I'll do for a moment. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out. Let's see about checking it out in situ. So if I bring my Compaq up here on the bench. So let's see. You can see this little thing here. So this is how that cable is going to sit, and that fits in there perfectly. So that cable will end up in there, and then this one will poke out down the side here, and that'll plug into the keyboard. Look at that. How good's that? So I just need to add a little plug onto there. And when you're ready to take the keyboard out, and when you're done, pull it back. Oh, that is perfect. Actually, you know, I was worried about the white not kind of matching, because it should be this like dark brown of the other cable, but you know what, that actually kind of works pretty well in there. So yeah, okay. Well, now we've got that cable, let's get a start on wiring it in. Okay, so we've got the original cable laid out here, and what we're going to do is figure out the two kind of lengths that I'm going to need. So one will be from the end of the coil, which kind of ended about there, to the end of the plug. Now if we look at the plug that I'm going to be replacing it with, we can pull that apart and we can see kind of how long we need those wires to go. So what we'll do is we'll kind of line that up, and yeah, we only need to trim a little bit off there, so I think I'll trim it to about, I think there. Okay, and then the other side is from the end of the last coil here to where the wires meet up inside the keyboard. So if we go from there, and honestly with the length that I trimmed off here, I think that's actually pretty good as is, so I will leave that. And then we can get going with the wiring. So this is just going to be a pretty standard wiring job. I'm going to split these wires. They do appear to be the same colors as before, as the original cable. I think there's a blue in there though. So yeah, we'll have to see about what colors we will line up. I should really use my wire strippers for this rather than cutters. But yeah, we'll see about which colors we want going to which. Wow, that is tough. All right, let's use our strippers. So yeah, we've got a white, we have a black, we have a red, and we have a blue. So I think I'll basically just replace the green with the blue and use the same kind of strategy of wires there. So white was clock, green was going to be ground, black would be data, and white will be, red will be 5 volts. And yeah, let's put those into those pins as before, and then do the other side. Bring in our multimeter. Continuity mode again. Okay. Now, so we were looking for white was clock, and that was on pin 1, which should be down here. And we are right. And then we had black on pin 2, which is data. So pin 2 should be top in the middle. But it is not. We have messed up somehow. So I put black on pin 4, ground. I guess old habits die hard. So do we have, yeah, so we have blue is data. Well, yeah, okay. And then we should have, this will be 5 volts over here. No. Am I hooked up right? Ah, okay. Let's do that again then. Oh, red broke off. Alrighty, now let's give it a test. So, grab the multimeter once more, beep mode, collect tongs, good. So let's check pin 1, should be our clock on white, which will be this one over the right hand side here, yes. Then we should have pin 2, which was black, our data line, and that should be up in the middle, which it is. And then we should have ground, which is blue, or the old one it was green, and that will be pin 4. So that should be this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, so we are right. And then 5 is this one here. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that is actually wired correctly. A little bit confused there about the numbering again, but no, it is fine. Cool. So now we do it here. We're done. All that. That was great. So now we can get those cable ties that we had before and tie that in. We can get there's the cord, go like that, and then that will plug in like that. Hey, looks like a real keyboard. Well, let's check in with all the other nicks and make sure that everything is back together. Well, this keyboard turned out so damn good. That is so clean. It's actually making me pretty upset to look at the rest of the unit. So I think I might give this a little bit of effort and just clean that up a touch, because this keyboard is now, yeah, putting that to shame. So I'm going to go, I'm not going to do a full disassembly on this guy. What I'm going to do is just hit it with some wipes and a little bit of Windex and give it a proper surface clean, because that's really all it needs. And there's the completed keyboard. Oh, no. There's the completed keyboard. Now, I did not get around to cleaning off the sticky up here, so I think I will just give that a bit of a wipe down in a bit with some goo remover because it is still sticky after being cleaned. And I have decided to leave the Lotus, wherever card it's gone, I've put it off to the side in a very safe spot, the Lotus 123 key thingy off because I just kind of like the plain nature of the board, but like I said, I might come back to that. And that keyboard, that space key, there we go. But how freaking good does this keyboard look? Like brand spanking new. I cannot believe how good these keys came up. Like they were absolutely filthy before, and now amazing. Okay, let's get this back on the case. So thank you very much for watching this far. I recommend you do stick around a little bit longer. What I'm going to do here is just boot it up, run into the Compaq Diagnostics where I can give the keyboard a full rundown shakedown test and make sure that everything's working as expected. And of course, stick around for the next video where I tackle the hard drive. Thanks for watching.